Welcome to the Life You're Made For with me, Dr. Heather Penny. We're going to be having conversations that talk about us spiraling up versus spiraling down, because we all want to be living lives that are about thriving, not just surviving. This is the life you're made for. So let's get going. I am so excited to have one of my favorite people here today, Selah Penny. Hi, Selah.
Hello. Hi. I'm so excited to be with one of my favorite people today.
I asked Selah to come on my show because she was the inspiration behind this book, The Bracelet. I'm holding it up for those of you who are looking at me. Those of you who are listening to me, you can find it on Amazon. But when Selah was first born, I, of course, wanted to be the best mother and educator that I could be. And of course, I wanted to pour everything into her. But at the same hand, I wanted to make sure that she didn't feel the strain and the weight that sometimes comes along our children. And initially, I thought it was a book for little girls, but I'm realizing it crosses all genders, boys and girls. But just the human condition is sometimes learning how to manage the bracelets that you hold and what weighs you down, and being able to jump back on your tire swing and under the stars. So before we jump in, Selah, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and things you're passionate about.
Perfect. I'm Selah. I am a junior in college right now. I'm very passionate. I have best about activity. I love being active. Anyone who knows me could say that really quickly about myself. I'm pursuing a degree in exercise science. So I want to be a physical therapist, and I just love anything outdoors. I love working out. I'm a certified personal trainer, so I get to do that on the side, which I love. Just a job on campus, where I get to train, and just my goal is to just not be an expert in the field, honestly, but just to find people help people find their joy in fitness and staying active. Um, so that's just my goal, just for myself to always like find joy in being active and to help other people find that as well. Because my parents have poured so much joy from what they find love in and help me find the same in mine. And along with that, I love just my time with my friends here. I love my school I go to. The community here is just so rich. I'm down here in Riverside, Southern California, and I go to the beach a lot. It's an hour drive, but I make my way down there usually once a week at least, because it's good for the soul. And I enjoy surfing, running. I ran my first marathon in January. I'm training for another one right now. Yeah, I'm super interested. I love having like running buddies, and it's just fun. It's not about like the running as much, but just about I love the community it brings. It's a great group of people, and it's honestly just good alone time also. So yeah, I feel like recently I've learned to value a lot of alone time, especially just in college. It's a good time to make those habits when you're always surrounded by people.
Oh, I love it. And just to clarify, I am not one of her running buddies.
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh, thank you for that optimism, Selah. Running marathons, I'm lucky if I can run 2 miles, but she is quite the athlete, and it's fun to watch her soar.
Oh.
I'm going to pivot over to the bracelet. Selah, my team was like, why don't you ask your daughter to be on your podcast? And we were kind of looking at our podcast calendar for the year. They said, we'd love to hear from her because you're the one, you dedicated this book to her. So I want to read that dedication out loud. And I want to then ask you the question of how that has impacted you or how that has felt. But let me read it first, say.
Oh yeah, yes.
But you're already thinking about it, huh? I opened up this book and it says, for Selah, my sweet, strong, and sensitive daughter, you are one of the best gifts I've ever received. This book was always meant for you, for us. Please remember, you're the dazzling author of your own story, Mom.
Man, I love thinking about that. It's every morning I wake up, I'm like, man, I have a book dedicated to me, and it just gets me going. No, but it's a cool thing to say because some people can say that at my age. And I feel so honored. I remember I didn't know it was gonna be dedicated to me. And when I first like opened it, it just made me emotional. It still does every time I read it. I'm like, oh, like that's my name in there. I just feel so lucky to be your only daughter, and it just was such a gift to have that and to still have that. But it's funny, I still remember, when you first wrote the book, before you even thought of, like, making it a book or publishing it, I would, like, sneak into your office, and, it was a little picture book, and all the pictures, instead of like the girl like that was illustrated in the book, it was pictures of me. So I remember it always felt like it was meant for me at a young age. So I think it's really cool just to have like those words kind of spoken over me at a young age. And so it's just really cool to see that published and come to life. Um, and just made me so proud to be your daughter, honestly.
Oh, thanks, Say.
Mhm.
I added in the phrase there, this book is always meant for you. It's meant for us. And I have for us in capitals.
Mm,
And I think, you're 20 years old. I'm 53. Clearly, there's an age gap here, but we're starting to move more into womanhood together, so to speak,
mhm,
right? And I
mhm,
knew that as a young
mhm.
girl, my only daughter, my firstborn, I thought, you talk about the pressures on as a mother. When you have a daughter, you got to figure out your junk, man, because you do not want to pass it on to your daughter. And so for me, I wanted to not only have this as an opportunity for you and dedicate it for you, but of course to all women. And eventually, like I said, realized it ended up being toward all genders. It didn't matter. It's the human condition.
Mhm,
But it was my personal struggle of how do I find my tire swing again? How do I spend time on the stars? And for those of you who don't know the story, I'll give a brief synopsis. It's this little girl who's given a bracelet, and she loves this bracelet. It's been given to her by a giver in her life when she was really young, and she loves this bracelet. She wears it. It makes her feel loved and cherished. But what happens is over the years she gets more and more bracelets that begin to weigh her down, and worse, they prevent her from doing what she loves, which is jumping on her tire swing, which is a form of active rest, and spending time under the stars, which is a form of contemplative rest. It's been a very simple allegory, but in my work with people, they'll jump on the line and say, Heather, I need help with my bracelets today. I need to go find my tire swing today. I need to find time on the stars, because when she found time on her tire swing and stars, that's when she got to return to herself. When she was busy balancing all those bracelets on her hand, on her arms, she began to just disappear. So, Selah, as I kind of share that story with the listeners, what is resonating with you maybe right now in your life as you think about that
mhm.
allegory?
Yeah, I think it's so cool, talking about you just, like, figuring out, like, your problems and your issues because it's so cool to have, like just, like, from a young age, like, I've always had this language, like, it was always so, easy for me to identify, like, "Oh, like, these are my bracelets, so I need for my tire swing."
Mhm.
And, um, especially just in college, like, my biggest thing and, like, you know this, just, like, sometimes I'll get on the phone with you and I'll just be, like, so heavy, and you'll be like, it doesn't even phase you, like, you're just, like, still so positive and joyful, and, like, you don't, like, sit there and empathize with me, you're just like, "Sarah, like, you gotta find your tire swing this week," and that has helped me so much. Like, yeah, like, what am I doing? Like, it's countercultural, especially in college, and even just, I see you and dad, like, are both owning their own business, and you guys are, like, on your grind, and, it's just easy to, like, want to, like, keep up with that or, like, work so hard, but I'm like, I'm still 20 years old, you know? And so
Yeah.
it's kinda funny, I put, like, these expectations that I gave myself these bracelets,
Mhm.
um, when I just didn't need to be, and then when you guys started realizing that, you definitely would call it out, in me and be like, "So, like, you're a student, like, your job is to be a student and a friend and a daughter of God," and,
Yeah.
and so that has been super helpful, but right now, I think just the biggest thing for me is continuing to, like, find my tire swing. The biggest thing I've integrated these past couple months is I said earlier, like, I just, like, been going to the beach every week, like, I go by myself, and that's been, like, crazy. Like, if you told me that, like, a year ago, I never thought I would spend time alone, like, that was not my personality. I'm a huge extrovert, but having that time, just helps me remember it helps me, like, reflect, um, on the bracelets that I have because it's so easy to get bracelets and realize that you're just accepting bracelets you even know are given to you until you just kinda look at, like, the heaviness in your heart. You're like, "Oh, like,
Mhm.
um, why am I falling apart after one comment someone said to me, or why am I falling apart after I get one bad grade?" Like, it's, like, things that will
Mhm.
just make or break you. That's when I realized, like, "Okay, I need to, like, kind of step away. I need to find my tire swing," and just you guys being able to call that out in me, like,
Mm.
for a long time, like, being able to really identify that, um and then it's just funny too, because it's never like just you never just, like, learn it and then move on. It's just always changing because 'cause you're always
Mhm.
expectations are always changing, like, coming to college was a whole other thing. I thought I, like, would be able to kinda manage it a lot better than I did, but it was just kind of like, um it was like a train. And just it was just a lot of, pressures I put on myself and, a lot to figure out, yeah, and just how to, um, still keep those same, the same metaphor, I guess, in my life with finding my bracelets and finding my tire swing.
Yeah, the metaphor helps so much. I mean, and
Mhm,
that's why I said the book was meant for us. This is really my evolution of how I want to continue to grow and monitor my growth.
mhm,
And more importantly, invite in an honest conversation where you have challenged me,
mhm,
Mom, where's your tire swing?
mm.
It looks like you might be carrying too many bracelets. I remember the last time you came home from visit,
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
said it out loud and you're like, might you be having a little too many bracelets? And I go, yeah, I think I do.
Yeah.
So what I like is this idea that it grows the conversation. And of course, as
Mhm,
I'm working with hundreds of people now, that's what they're telling me. It grows the conversations in their places of work, in their own personal relationships, in their places of home, in their parenting. I've had pictures sent from all over the world and all different ages of
mhm,
how they are using the bracelet to talk about it as an allegory, because what we're finding in this, particularly in North America, we're struggling with that work life balance. We're struggling with the ability to spiral up. And in reality, we're spending a lot of energy managing our spiraling down of depression, anxiety, frustration. And
mhm,
part of this book gets to be really used as an influential tool to start evaluating, wait a minute, I have the power to identify the bracelets I'm wearing. I have the
mhm,
power to identify my tire swing and go find it. I have the power to go identify my time under the stars.
mhm.
So I want to dig a little deeper and ask you some specific questions. You kind of hinted at your tire swing, but let me ask you flat out, what are your tire swings? And then I want to find out what some of your bracelets are.
Mm. My tire swings, I started waking up an hour before my day,
Mm.
this past probably 2 months, and that's, like, been a huge some people have always said, like, "Just find your quiet time in the morning." I'm like, "No, no, I need my sleep." Like, I don't care. But once you're mentally well, like, spiritually well, like, that just cancels out any any physical sleep that you may need, and from my experience, and that's something that I've really learned to value, just my quiet time in the morning, like yeah, again, like a year ago, I never would have thought that I would be
Mhm.
waking up an hour before my, classes or before I have to get
Mhm.
ready, but it's helped me so much, so that's been a huge, huge thing, and then having people, that can do it with you or not, like, at the same time, but people can hold you accountable, or
Mhm.
you can share your quiet time with has been super great and super motivating, and then I have a few, like I have a couple, like, heart friends, a couple friends I know, like, I can truly rest with where it's not like I have to be on with them, but,
Mhm.
um, it's people I know I can, truly just spend time with. I can just sit and exist with them and talk to them, and that's, like, what rest is for me, and you're one of those people, obviously, and,
Oh, thanks, honey.
um, yeah, yeah, and, just spending time outside, um, it just, is a great great time to read or to meditate, um and just to reflect and just because I find myself just getting so, like, stuck, like, in my dorm, and I'm like, "Okay, I just need to go for a
Mhm.
walk, I just need to do something." So, even being able to be
Mhm.
able to realize in the moment, I'm like, "Okay," like, yeah, like you said, like, I'm in control of my life, like, I'm not a victim to life, like, I have so many options, I have so many choices. One thing you always told me is that you always have options, and that's just been a huge thing, so it's funny too, like, it's what I tell, like, my friends sometimes, and it's, like, sometimes things that they've never it's something that they never even heard before, like, "Oh, like, you always have
Mhm.
options?" I'm like, "Always." And so,
Mhm.
that's been a really cool thing, to share with them and help, like, kinda my friends, like, find their tire swings too, but yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the false beliefs we start believing is we're stuck.
Mhm,
We may feel stuck, and I certainly know what that feeling is. I know what it means to feel stuck. I don't mean to diminish that for anyone who might be feeling stuck.
mhm.
We don't have to stay in our stuckness though.
Yeah, yeah.
And as we feel that feelings of stuckness, we get to reach for a true belief that says, I have options.
Mhm,
And you reference this, so I want to highlight this, Selah. I really talk about this idea of the whole person, mind, body, heart, spirit. And as a leadership coach and trusted advisor, I am moving into these spaces to support people in their holistic sense of self. One of the most interesting, and I talk about this in my book, my chapter book of The Life You're Made For. Uh, One of the things that hit me I was at a keynote speaking, and it was around 250 people or so in the room, and I get interrupted in the middle of my keynote, which it's never happened to me before. But I was talking about rest, and she said, "What do you mean by rest?" I don't know, it was like 15 years ago, so I still to this day thank her for that, because I'm like, "What? I didn't think I needed to explain that." But it really set me on this course to say, "Oh, I need to talk about what rest means." And so I
Mhm,
use the term restorative rest, and I
mm,
use the idea of active rest, and I associate that with the tire swing. And then I use the star time as more as a contemplative rest. But we need
mhm,
both to go
totally.
after the mind, body, heart, and spirit.
Mhm.
So you're someone you mentioned you're an extrovert. What are some of these active rest things that you do? Because you're one of the most active people I know.
Yes, yeah. Um, Honestly, running became a really big thing for me, like, since COVID, like, that's been really nice because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, I can, like, either get, like, a running buddy or do something." So that's been a super, like, just great thing where I'm like I feel like I'm, like, productive, but it's still, like, I can go for, like, an hour and just, like but it's still, like, rest, like, time I get to think or
Yeah,
just, like, listen to music and just kind of turn off.
yeah.
Um, and but, like, true rest, sometimes it looks like it's hard to just, like, give yourself, like, a night off, like, "Okay, like,
Mhm,
I'm just gonna not do homework tonight, I'm not gonna study tonight, I'm gonna take my shift off tonight," whatever.
mhm.
Um, and I'll like, the other night, I, like, planned, like, a night with my friends, and it was super fun. It was really surprising how much everyone, like, enjoyed it too, 'cause, like, it's like,
Mm.
when you're stuck in that and, like, the people around you kind of are stuck in that, it's hard to get out of that, and it's hard to realize, like, when you need to get out of that. So that's a super another really fun active, like, rest thing I do. I think it's, like, really good, like, rest for, like, my, like, soul is just resting with, like, my really good heart friends, and so having, like, a little bonfire, just time at the beach, time outside, time with really good friends after not having that, for a while and during a busy season is super rewarding and super great too.
I love that you're bringing up heart friends. You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's a
Yeah, to keep
terminology that you and I are used to, because
it's
I
true.
taught you from a young age,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think I developed this mantra of "penny women don't do drama." Do you remember me
Mhm.
saying that to you as a younger?
Oh,
Like,
definitely.
we do not do drama.
Still don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we still don't. But more importantly, teaching you what again, you have the power to create the relationships you want,
Mhm,
and using this idea of everyone can visualize kind of a target with the bullseye in the middle, and the bullseye being a heart, and each concentric ring around that, you're able to see where people fit in your life. It doesn't mean you discard them. It doesn't mean you have them right next to your heart or have them off your target ring. But it's learning to say, who do I want next to my heart? How many people can I handle? So when Selah's talking about it, that's what she's identifying as her heart friend. And I want to emphasize, if we're not spending time with people who are our heart friends, people that feed our heart,
mhm,
it doesn't count as restorative rest.
mhm.
That's something I work with a lot with clients. They get this confusion of like, well, I love spending time with friends. And I go, tell me a little bit about your friends. Well, they put me down, or they dismiss me, or they disrespect me, or they don't call me, or they're always late on me. I'm like, these are signs that they're probably not good for your heart. So
Mhm.
talk to us a little bit about what it means for you to identify your heart friends.
Yeah, well, it hasn't always been easy. Like, you gave me a demonstration a long time ago, because I was struggling with friends a long time ago, and I realized I heard this term recently. It's called like, you were garage selling yourself, and basically
Mm,
like, oh, if you like sell it for like not that much, if you sell it for like $2, and it's gonna be like worth $2. That's what they're gonna think it's worth. And
mhm,
so if you're kind of just giving your full self away to anyone, and like that's what they're thinking, like you're gonna think like you're not worth that much.
mm,
And so I kinda was just like, "Oh, like, I'll, like, do anything." Like, I felt like almost, like, desperate friendship, and I would, like, really put up with, like, the drama or, like, people, like, just treating me, like, not inviting me, um, for a while, and until I realized I'm like, "Oh, like, I don't have to put up with this." Like, there are people who don't do this,
yeah,
and you kind of show me, like, these people don't get to be your heart friends, and once I realized, like, "Oh, I don't need to garage sell myself,
mhm,
I'm worth a lot more than something at a garage sale," then,
yeah,
that helped me, like, attract those people who also believe that about themselves, and also, honestly, just, Christians, like, people who are just really selfless at heart, um, were people I, attracted a lot, in college, and, they were just the friendships that looked like, we would, die for each other. And
yeah.
we
Yeah.
genuinely had each other's best interest at heart. It wasn't like, what can I get out of this friendship? It was, how are you? How can I serve you? And that was something that when people started doing that to me, I was like, whoa, like this is what this is like. So just having like these really solid friendships at this age has been life changing. And it's cool too to see that just in our friendship too, mom, because I've always had that, like, you're my mom, like,
Mhm.
yeah, and how you serve me, but it's just so neat how much more I get to value that now, seeing it in my friendships and seeing the same resemblance in our friendship too. It just makes me value it so much more that I've always grown up with that. And so
Mm.
just our friendship and the friendship you also cultivated with me and Luke, my brother, um, just that being a really good heart friendship too has helped set the standard for my heart friends as well. But it's funny, I forget people don't know that analogy. So I say it to my friends, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna move them like one ring out of my friend circle. And they're like,
Yeah.
what? But yeah, it is hard like when there's like repetitions and people it kind of make like, like kind of like a three strikes rule. If it's like kind of like happening again, or I don't know, they're um just stepping on like your morale or putting you down. It's hard to know when to move them one ring out, and I think that's been a hard thing too. Because you can know they have to move them like one ring out, but then it's hard to fully act on that. And I think a lot of that comes with being okay with being alone and just trusting that you will find the people that you need eventually. Because I was alone for a little bit and it was hard, but it's just so worth it because you just find um, so much more of your worth in yourself and identity, and um, you just end up obtaining friends who are so strong in themselves as well, and that just creates such healthy friendships that I have right now.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest pains that we all deal with in humanity. And the reason I say that is when I work with people, everybody has a sad story, if not several sad stories of betrayal in friendship or hurt in friendship or abandonment. And it can be so confusing and disorienting. Learning how to kind of heal from that, of course, is always so important. I've had hard friendship stories. I know you have as well, Salem. I remember one time we were both going through hard friendships. We were like, "Ugh, let's talk about our
Yeah.
friends."
Oh yeah.
But I love that you said being comfortable with being alone. I think we sometimes put up with too much just because of the desire to belong, which is strong in every human. And I want to honor that and respect that. There's nothing to feel ashamed about. We all want to feel like we belong somewhere. And we also want to feel like we don't have to deal with loneliness. Loneliness is very painful.
Mhm.
As you kind of navigated through that alone period, what were some of the beliefs that you either struggled with or you reached for and grabbed onto?
Mm. Um, there are definitely just a lot of thoughts initially, like, oh, like you deserve to be alone, or like you've done this to yourself. But it's so hard to like identify that, and even like telling yourself being like, this is a lie.
Mm,
Um, and then flipping that and being um, like I get to like have this time alone. So like, oh, like you deserve to be alone. Like I get to have this time um alone to, and I'm or just be believing like I'm attracting the people that I deserve. Like just interest trusting that they're coming. And even if I didn't believe it, I would have to just say it out loud. And then or even just saying like the false beliefs out loud, just saying like, oh, like I'm a bad friend, like, or something like that, and then but, like, knowing that I'm not, but then saying that out loud, and seeing how silly it sounds because once you say it out loud, it just loses its power immediately, and that's something that really
mm,
helped me, um, to flip those false beliefs into true beliefs, and I honestly just look to scripture a lot, and then there were a few people in my life, like, who just did know my heart, and I just had to keep looking to them for affirmation, just like you and dad and Luke, honestly,
mm,
were just rocks in that, and, a couple of my, closer friends in that, and yeah,
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
even
Let's talk a little bit about our other favorite person, Luke. Your
yeah,
brother, my only son.
shockingly. Mhm,
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about your relationship with him, because you guys are so different, but you have
mhm,
such a strong friendship.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, Man, it's so funny. I grew up so quiet. I was this quiet kid, and then Luke came along. He was just the loudest little guy ever. And then we both got to high school, and the roles totally switched. And I was the huge extrovert, and he was a little introvert. But he's really mellow. He's definitely more of an ambivert, um, right in the middle. And oh gosh, we had like our ups and downs. We were very, very different, so that was not easy for us to be friends. But you guys really, just cultivated that friendship, and the biggest thing I always, like, say is, like, communication, and that's just something I've learned, like,
Mhm.
that is just so important in, like, my friendships too. Um, even just communication, like, still with Luke, like, the other week, he brought something up, he's like, "So, our friendship is great right now," but he's like, "I just, like, had to bring something up to you that I realized I've been, like, really angry at you for a long time, and he, like, told me away I felt like I, like, betrayed him, like, from a while ago, I didn't know, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad he
Mm.
told me." I was able to apologize, and we talked about it, but, like, oh, it just made me emotional, like, after that, I'm like, "Man, like, I just can't believe how, like, lucky I am that he, like, cared enough about, like, our friendship to tell me that," and, like, that was just, like, one example of something that, like, I know we wouldn't, like, have had, like, if we didn't have you guys just really, really, like, pushing into our friendship and, like, interceding in ways that we couldn't have done, because we were so young, and then, um yeah, just communication for language has been really important, and then it's just given us, like, that ability now, like, we've had so many differences, but once we've, like, overcome a lot of our differences, with each other, I feel like the biggest thing was, when I was, like when I started driving, I was 16, and I was like, "I don't wanna, like, drive him around," like, I just felt like this obligation, and, like, he's always late, but then, like, I brought it up, I'm like, "Luke, you're always late, it's kinda frustrating," he's like, "Okay, like, I can change," and so even just
Yeah.
bringing that up, like, things like that were just so helpful, and then, we just really, kind of had a lot of pride in, like, our friendship with once we
Mhm.
realized, like, other people our age didn't have that, we're like, "Oh, like, this is rare, like, this is fun,"
Mhm.
and so
Mhm.
we got to kind of share that with, like, other siblings too, and I can say confidently we both have, like, talked to other people, and helped with their sibling relationships too, so, um, yeah, we're very close now. We both consider each other, one of our best friends, and he's coming to visit me this weekend, up for Easter at school, so I'm super excited to see him. I'm hosting him and one of his other friends, and he's come visit me a few times, but yeah, it's definitely gotten even better in college too because we both have been able to relate more just being out of the house, but it is really cool just to think about your book too, and how it really
Mhm.
is, like, gender neutral, and,
Mhm.
it's just a cool language. Because once you know someone that well, it's really easy to call the bracelets that they have been putting on, and, we'll both kind of, like, do that in each other and, like, use that language, a
Mhm.
little bit, and, because we know what they're like without the bracelets, so it's cool to see, like, oh, like, the other day he's talking about like, school and, like, all this stuff and all these stresses. I'm like, "Luke, like, this isn't, like, normal." And he's like,
Mhm.
"You're right." I'm like, "So what's next?" And he's like I'm like, "Find
Mhm.
a tire swing." And so, like, just it's been super cool to just have that
Yeah.
same language and the communication. It's just been huge. So, yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
that was some of my naivete thinking this is more of a girl issue or woman issue, and it
Mhm,
really isn't and wasn't. And that's why I
mhm,
used it universally in my chapter book.
mhm,
But he sure is, thinking about, we talked about heart friends. Heart friends help you monitor your bracelets.
mhm,
But if you're too busy monitoring a dysfunctional energy that's coming out of it, like jealousy or being late or miscommunication or just confusion, we
mhm.
don't have the support we need to get the clarity we need on our
Yeah,
bracelets. So, this is why heart friends are so important in monitoring our bracelets and supporting us in our tire swings. Good friends say, "Hey, when's the last time you found your tire swing? When's your
mhm,
last time you spent time under the stars and listened to that voice on the wind?"
mhm.
And that's what heart friends do. And I love that Luke and you get to be that for each other. And he is, I have to make my own confession here. He is a master communicator. I think he was talking at 9 months. That kid,
It's true.
he
Yeah,
was talking
definitely learn
so
from
early
him.
on.
Yeah, I definitely find myself, like, holding, like, grudges so much longer, like, I remember when we were little, like, we would get in fights, and he would just forgive and forget so quickly, and I would be like, "Why am I still angry?" And
Yeah.
so, sometimes I think, like, now, like, "Oh, like, what would Luke do?" And he just forgives, like, so well, he communicates so well, so that's very true.
Yes.
Really good at
He
that.
called me out. He's like, "Mom, I think you're being a little passive aggressive." And he was right. Darn it. I
Yeah.
said, "You're right. I'm sorry. I'll use my words." But of
Oh,
course, I was giving him some of my looks or something that I didn't like, and he knew I didn't like something, but he didn't like the fact I was being passive aggressive. So like called me out last time he was home and he was
dang,
spot on. But
that's so good.
you're right. I appreciate it makes you feel like they care enough to tell you,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it's super
You
cool.
don't take that for granted anymore. And when you start experiencing that, when it's done out of love and respect, which Luke
Mhm.
does,
Mhm.
it having people like this in your life make you kind of raise the bar. Sometimes you'll go, "You've been thinking that for me for 2 years and you never told me?"
Yeah,
Like,
literally. Yeah.
why? And
Uh-huh.
this is why you've been getting grumpy at me or being rude or disrespectful. I would have rather you just told me. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the when you talk about kind of criteria for heart friends in our life and who can really be there for us, that's one of my important criterias is I just need direct communication. I need you to be
Mhm.
honest, I need you authentic, and I need to be respectful, and I need to feel loved, but I need to know. Otherwise, how are we gonna learn and grow, and how can we really love each other if something is between us?
Mhm. Yeah.
What do you want readers to take away from this book?
Um, I think this book just makes it really easy to, identify the bracelets that they have. And so I think just being able to identify expectations that, um, people put on them, expectations they put on themselves. I think of it as, like, expectations and, like, identity is a big thing. So maybe, like, where they're finding, like, their purpose and identity, maybe it's not, um, where it's supposed to be. It's not, like, life-giving. So I think, that's that and the tire swing are probably just the 2 biggest things, like, where are your expectations and who are they coming from, and are they good? Are they helping you? 'Cause sometimes there's, like, healthy expectations,
Mhm.
like, you and dad never had really hard expectations on, me and Luke, but just expectations of, having high morale. Um, so, like, that'd be, like, a healthy bracelet, it's when I have 2 bracelets on my wrist. I have one from you, one from dad, and so it's
Oh,
just a reminder of that book. I never take them off, but all the time. Just
yeah,
a reminder and yeah, 'cause I like, you guys are, like, my heart people. You
yeah,
guys know, the expectations that, I need and I put on myself, like, these are the only bracelets I need, so,
yeah.
yeah, that's been great, but yeah, then just this tire swing, I find myself using, like, the language with my friends too, and even if they haven't read the book, I'll, like, describe it, and, we'll, like, find ourselves being like, "Okay, like, let's, like, find our tire swing this week," so, yeah, I just finding your tire swing has been super great, but, um, yeah, what do you want readers to take away mostly from the book? What's your favorite part?
Well, I love that you're saying identity. You've been bringing that up a couple times, and I think you're spot on, Selah, because one of the things that happens when she gets too many bracelets, it's a powerful line in the book, and I wrote it intentionally, and I think about it all the time, myself in my own personal life and the work that I do with clients. But once she had on too many bracelets and she stopped spending time on the tire swing and time under the stars, she began to disappear. And I think what happens, we lose our sense of self, which is ultimately losing our identity, right?
Definitely. Mhm.
And bracelets are neither good nor bad. It's just you can only handle so many. For
Mhm.
me, choosing to be married to a man for over 30 years is a form of a bracelet. Doesn't mean it's bondage. It just means I chose that. I
Yeah.
chose to have kids. I chose 2 kids in my life. I chose that.
Mhm. And then
And
owning that and being like, "Oh, like, I chose this, like, life isn't happening to me, like, I'm choosing this," and
yes,
I realized, like, life was happening, like, so much to me. I'm like, "Okay, so I'm gonna wake up, like, an hour early and, like, make some life of my own," you know?
yes,
That doesn't
yes.
happen to me. I get to choose this.
Yeah, certainly things happen to us in life that are very unexpected and can throw us a curveball. But
Mhm.
to your point earlier, we always have options. We have options for how we're going to handle whatever life throws at us.
Mhm.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway that I think about. I want people to feel from this book is no, life is not as simple as looking down at your arm and taking on and off a bracelet. But I think if you can hold that allegory in your mind, you start to begin to realize, am I wearing too many bracelets that's preventing me
Mhm.
from going to my tire swing, which is really an active form of rest and having fun? And is it preventing me from spending time under the stars? Because under the stars is when you hear the voice on the wind. And what does the voice on the wind say?
I take off these bracelets, I did not give them to you.
Yep. The voice on the wind says, take off the bracelets. This isn't what you
Yeah.
were, this isn't who your true self. And that's going back to your point of identity.
Mhm.
It's finding your identity again. That's what contemplative rest
Yeah.
does for you. When
Yeah.
you're talking about your morning time, journaling time, contemplative time, just for me, it's taking a walk in nature sometimes, meditation, prayer.
Yeah.
These are all things I need to find my sense of self again.
Mhm.
And that's what I describe as time under the stars.
Yeah. It's a hard balance too because, like, we're not made to do life alone. Like, we're made to be in community with other people, but it's hard to have that and then not find your identity in that, like, once to a certain point. Yeah, and even like you said, just like with being married, it's like you're still your own person, but it's still this beautiful choice that you've made. So it's still a cool time where you still have to find like your tire swing and your a personal identity in that and not in certain bracelets. But yeah, I was gonna ask you, how's the book impacted the choices you've made in your adulthood?
Well, it has made me much more intentional about what I say yes to and what I say no to.
Mhm.
And because I work with this all day long and I teach it, and then my heart friends or my inner circle knows this, they hold me accountable. They'll say, "What's your true belief today, Heather?" Or what's your bracelet that you need to release? Or what's your tire swing? When's the last time you spent time in your tire swing? Just asking that question is a form of accountability. And so I think me kind of putting this allegory out there into the world,
Mhm.
I've loved how it's made me more intentional in my world, in my life, and as a parent,
That's cool.
as a wife, as a coach, as a friend, as a daughter, as a sister, as all these different things and roles that we play. Really identifying what is giving me energy and what is really weighing me down and taking my energy. I have to deal with that. And I have the power to deal with that. And I'll be honest, sometimes I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
But I know what it's going to cost me. I'm going to
Mhm.
begin to disappear. So I think it keeps me living honest.
Mhm.
All right. This has been an awesome conversation. As we
Yeah.
wrap up.
Back down.
Wrap down, wrap off, wrap up. What's an encouragement you want to leave with our listeners?
Hmm. I think just to not settle. I feel like the heart friends just keeps coming to mind. Just to be sure that you know your worth, and kind of like you were saying with the yes or no, like you don't have to say yes to everything. Like you get to say no. There are always options. You are worth what you think you are. Well, you're worth so much more, but that's what people are going to perceive. So um, just don't settle, and yeah, just keep self-reflecting and evaluating your bracelets, and be able to say no when you need to.
Love that. Love
Mhm.
that. And I'm going to leave our listeners with the first chapter of my book.
Mhm.
I start it with a permission slip in the end of that first chapter, and it says, "I give you the permission to rest." And it literally, you sign a permission slip that says, "I, Heather, give myself permission to rest." I think that's what I want to leave you all with. Give yourself the permission to assess your bracelets, take some off that are weighing you down, preventing you from getting your tire swing. Identify what your tire swing is. And this can be challenging because it's always shifting. Sometimes what your tire swing was last year is not your same tire swing as this year. And
Mhm.
take that time to spend time under the stars and listen to that voice on the wind, calling you out of your true sense of self, your true sense of potential. Because when we take the time to pull back from all the busyness of the grind of the world, we get to find ourself again, and we get to listen to whatever is calling us out, and whatever higher power you might believe in. I know for Selah and myself, it's God. And so we like to invite in that power because our faith is important to us. So we are cheering you on, aren't we, Selah?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go, everyone.
Take off your bracelets or put them on.
Take off your bracelets and jump on that tire swing.
I'm the tire swing. Land in some stars tonight.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We had such a great time today. And obviously, we are all stepping into this life that we're made for. But isn't it nice to have a little bit of support along the way? If you want to find out more about the life that you're made for, come find me at heatherpenny.com. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a review. That really helps us out and helps spread the word.
you get to step into the life that you're made for. Cheering you on.